You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Typhoon Goni, Philippine name Rolly, is a formidable Category 5 typhoon this evening, with estimated winds of 190 miles per hour, 305 kilometers per hour, sustained winds based on satellite appearance, an eye temperature above 21 degrees Celsius, minus 80 degree cloud tops wrapping entirely around the storm, and a near perfect storm structure. So sometimes the big things come in small packages. Goni, a rather small storm by typhoon standards, but as it is right now, if it makes landfall anywhere near this intensity, it's going to be an enormous punch. My name is Nathan Foy. I'm joined by our Discord team for another hour of coverage on this storm. We were here this morning, we're here again this evening, local time in the Philippines. I'm joined by Ike, Ethan, Jacob, and Paul.
Good morning.
Good morning, evening, everywhere around the world accounted for, I think. And we'll get comments and questions on this storm as well during this hour, so send them in. There was one just there, we'll go straight into it, the Cdps scale. It is still a Cdps stage 6, but that's still quite high, potentially devastating. But let's cross over to Paul, because we had a little chat off air, and I think you've got a lot of news for us just right off the bat here.
So PAGASA, in their 5 p.m. weather bulletin, which is the latest we've got by the way, has said that they are expecting some storm surge of up to 2 meters in depth in the coastal areas near the immediate landfall of the storm. So, in response, locals in the coastal areas, especially fishermen, have beached their motorboats already, anchoring them inland. Meanwhile, the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or the NDRRMC, which oversees preparations before storms, has sent heavy equipment like bulldozers and backhoes to the mountainous areas, which are prone to landslides actually, and they have also deployed rubber boats in low-lying areas that are prone to flooding, so metropolis like that. All of which seems to be pretty good preparations, but everything comes at the evacuation of the locals actually. LGUs are already getting ready to possibly evacuate residents in the landfall area and high-risk areas by tomorrow, maybe morning, evening. Most importantly, the locals near the coast and near the first landfall. So there you go.
And a Signal 1 warning in effect for Catanduanes right now. I expect that those warnings will spread across Luzon very quickly indeed. When do you think that might be? First thing in the morning or tonight?
Maybe tonight. Really depends on some factors, but it could come tonight, it could come tomorrow.
So there's the storm for perspective right now. The eye has shrunk in the last few hours, and I guess the best placed person to speak about that is Ethan, who's been watching this extremely closely, and turns out to be rightly so, Ethan.
Yeah, well, where do I start with this storm? It's got an incredibly dry eye, likely one of the driest that we've seen in a while. I know that some people have been comparing this dryness in the eye comparable to Typhoon Meranti and the Partak, and those were with winds near 195, potentially 200 miles an hour at peak.
Well, I can see the Nipartak comparison here, without a doubt. This is the best looking storm that we've seen in this area in the Philippine Sea since I don't think Hagibis counts, does it? Because it was just before it struck Guam, so you'd be going back to Mangkhut. At least for
I
this
think that you-
relative position.
I think that you'd probably be going back farther than that.
Really? Well, I suppose, yeah, Mangkhut, it was much larger. Cloud tops weren't as impressive, I suppose. I guess if you're going to make a comparison with this storm to something, at that point, I'm struggling.
It is really small, though, still.
Yes.
So, I'd imagine that has something to do with its 190 mile an hour intensity.
It's formidable. It does mean, of course, given how small it is, it could collapse unexpectedly. That's what we're holding out hope for. But, Ethan, we think that there could be an eyewall replacement cycle about to begin or maybe underway. And if it does well with that, there could even be a bout of further intensification. It might drop a little bit and then re-strengthen back up again.
Yeah, personally, I'm just not seeing it.
Me neither.
I'm just not seeing an hour replacement cycle, honestly, right now. But I do notice that some of the cloud tops are cooling on the western side. So I've seen some signs, and
Warming.
if we have an hour replacement, yes. If we have an hour replacement cycle, it perhaps could be a merger hour replacement cycle. What that means is instead of an outer eye wall sucking all the energy out of the inner core, essentially the two eye walls combine, and that leads to a much quicker eye wall replacement cycle, and that would mean that we would probably see a Category 5 landfall in the Philippines. Will that happen? Yet to be seen.
Well, one thing that I will say is that if it depends on exactly where the storm makes landfall as to what the category will be, because it's going to be a close call for Camarines in particular, because the storm's likely to pass just north of there. It could make landfall there. If it does, it's borderline Category 5, no doubt about it. And then it will move on to Quezon and into central Luzon there. And that landfall will probably be mid-range Category 4 at worst. Well, we hope.
Yeah, right now, our current forecast currently has the storm making landfall just over 2 days from now, with winds of 155 miles an hour. Joint Typhoon Warning Center latest update had it making landfall, I think, with winds near 140. So we're running much more higher than what they are. But regardless, this will be a Cat 4 or a Cat 5 at landfall.
Ike, you're in very close to the path of the storm. What's your take on it right now?
We have stocked up on canned foods and pretty much prepared a for some moderate strong winds.
And what are you showing us there? It's a bulletin?
Yeah, it's the bulletin of PAGASA.
And I'm just trying to get that up just now. Bear with me. There we go. Can't read it from here. Anything interesting that it's saying there? Yeah.
Hazard affecting area. Today through tomorrow morning, the throw of the typhoon and northeasterly surface wind flow will bring light to moderate with at times heavy rains over Bicol region, eastern and central Visayas, Caraga, northern Mindanao, Zamboanga Peninsula, Batanes, Cagayan, Isabela. Yeah. Typhoon will likely bring heavy to intense rains over northern and central Luzon and Bicol regions, especially those areas along the track of Raleigh, beginning tomorrow or Sunday.
And we're talking the way it's looking right now. It will be passing southern Luzon or making a landfall. We're still not sure yet, and that will be on Saturday night, very late, maybe early hours of Sunday morning, and then it will push through the rest of Luzon on Sunday. So I'm sure there'll be many questions on our stream this evening. Start your message with Force13 all in text in our YouTube chat. I think Paul's watching our Facebook chat again tonight.
Yeah, I am.
Is Goni the strongest storm worldwide this decade? Well, first you've got that argument about which decade are we in right now, the 2010s or the 2020s. Some people still think we're in the 2010s. I'm not sure. So I'm not sure about that question. It's the strongest storm this year, no doubt about that.
So we've actually got a question in the Facebook stream, and it's regarding the TCWS signals. So the question is a signal number 5 possible? So actually, not. It's not possible because the storm is not gonna be a super typhoon in PAGASA's scale because as of now, it is actually on 185 kilometers per hour on sustained winds. So highly unlikely,
That's
very
a fair
unlikely.
point because
Yeah,
they're going by their own estimates, which are quite a bit lower
yeah,
right now, I believe.
yeah. Yeah, actually, the signal number 5 only applies to the super typhoon category because the super typhoon starts at 220 kilometers per hour and above. That's 10 minute sustained winds. And signal number 5 also applies to only to areas that will experience 220 kilometers per hour and above, which is really far from the readings that PAGASA has had on the storm.
Yep, just taking a look here. So just a reminder, this is, according to our estimates, 190 miles per hour. We've gone with that because of its extraordinary satellite appearance. Unfortunately, there's no direct measurements in the Western Pacific. There's no recon, and obviously there's no land observations just now. That's around 305 kilometers per hour sustained winds. This is based on satellite best estimate. It is... Would you say it's on a par with Hagibis and Halong last year, Ethan?
No, nothing can compare to Hagibis.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. So Ethan doesn't think it looks like that. I think, of course, it doesn't look like that, but intensity-wise, I do think it's somewhat close.
It is, yes.
Yeah, close, actually, very close.
But I will say Hagibis Hagibis had a lower eye temperature. It also did have a lot more of minus 80 cloud tops around
Yes.
around the whole storm. So
And of course, reanalysis will have to look at this storm as well, but for the purposes of tracking right now, it is a Category 5. I don't think there's such thing as a strong or weak Category 5, but let's just say it's 30 miles per hour above the threshold for Category 5 status, so it's very serious. It's only about 10 miles per hour shy of our estimate for Haiyan, so obviously that's a completely different storm which was much larger, even though it wasn't the hugest typhoon on record, but this one is much smaller. The typhoon force winds, I think, only extend out about 20 nautical miles in all directions or so.
That's actually a really small area.
And we've had all kinds of questions about whether it will eclipse Patricia and whether it will reach 200 miles an hour and all this. Odds are right now, the most likely is that it's peaking pretty much right now. Some people might speculate there could be more chance for strengthening, but personally, I'm of the opinion it's peaking at this very moment here.
personally, I think if the storm does undergo an hour replacement cycle, it ultimately will likely re-intensify because sea surface temperatures under the storm are around 30 degrees Celsius, but they're still increasing.
Really?
Really?
Yep. Slowly, but they're still increasing.
I just think that it might just go off the boil a little bit and just start weakening very slightly on its approach to the Philippines. It still could be a Category 5 within 6 hours of passing. It's a tremendous storm in that regard. Just checking the wind shear forecast, they're expecting a slight increase around about now to about 10 to 15 knots, and then a drop later on into tomorrow morning, a drop in wind shear by the time we're next on air, which will be at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning in the Philippines. So that's probably the best chance it will have during its whole life, which will be 12 hours time by the looks of things, because sea surface temperatures will also be higher, 30 degrees. Relative humidity is decent all the way through. So you've got a point there.
Probably there is still a chance that it might intensify a little bit.
It could be possible, depends entirely on the storm
Wow.
structure by that point. I believe we're also joined by Ray at this point.
Hi, good evening from the Philippines. It's good to see you
Oh,
guys.
fellow
Yes,
Filipino.
welcome aboard. We've got
Oh,
plenty of people on the line at this point, and you're down there in the Davao region, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. I'm currently in the southern Philippines, in the Davao region, to be exact.
So you're watching this storm from a bit of a distance, but your thoughts on it right now?
Looks like this is going to be, for sure, the strongest typhoon so far this year in the Philippines. So, uh, fingers crossed, basically, because this country has been dealing with a lot of severe weather for the past couple of weeks. Many areas have seen above average rainfall just this month already. So I'm just worried because possibly tens of thousands of people have already been affected by previous storms.
especially Quinta, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And this one again will be the areas in the northern part of Quinta's area of influence that will be affected again by this storm by the looks of things.
Hmm.
What do we think about the main urban areas, though, around Manila, with regards to this storm? Because it's quite possible that it could capitulate very quickly once it makes landfall, but you could still get typhoon conditions there.
Yeah, so actually, um, on the news, the resident meteorologist has actually said that signal number 3 is highly likely for Metro Manila.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise at all. So that's something to expect. Um, and probably widespread signal 3 warnings. Just a reminder, as of right now, only Catanduanes is under the signal 1. That's in the blue color shading there. That's just because the storm's still nearly 2 days away.
Yeah.
But those warnings are going to spread out either tonight or tomorrow morning. So let's take some questions, and I appreciate that some people are tuned in also for the latest in the Atlantic. High chance now of that area of interest in the Caribbean Sea. So it's another one we're watching out for Central America in particular for the next 5 days. What are the chances of 2020 being more active than 2005 in the Atlantic? If so, by how many storms? Well, this next one will tie 2005. And then you could get 3 or 4 more within the next week or two. So who knows what we're going to get. It's going to massively beat 2005 in terms of named storms. There's no doubt about it at this point. There's still another month of Atlantic hurricane season, and then there could be off-season activity as well. If it's anything like 2005, then there will be. Let's see what else we've got here at this point. The GFS said that Gurney will hit Bicol region, Quezon province, Batangas, Cavite, and Laguna. It's more, it's more south.
Yeah, actually, that's in the GFS run right now.
Oh yes, taking it further south than the forecast there on our screen
Yeah,
from the
so
JMA.
actually getting really close to Catanduanes.
This is what I'm concerned about, because I'm
So
thinking there could be a
basically, the
landfall
same
there.
areas which were hit by Quinta in the GFS run, of course.
Oh my.
And it's trending southwards.
Yeah. So basically, Catanduanes, Albay. You've got a scheme past the northern coast of Marinduque, then actually in wow, Batangas. So there, Catanduanes, Albay to Batangas, and then so GFS is basically uh having their tracks at a southern trend than the other models have suggested.
That's interesting. I'm not sure what to make of that. Here's a question, and do pardon me if I get pronunciations wrong, not being local, but I believe it's Nueva Ecija?
Ecija,
Nueva
yeah, it's Ecija.
Ecija. How
Yeah,
much
it's
will it?
Ecija.
How much will Nueva Ecija be affected by Goni?
If it continuously predicted path, it will severely affect Nueva
Yes.
Ecija.
So right now in the models, it's actually the second province to get hit because it's actually just next to Aurora. So basically, you can expect some very strong winds there.
If the landfall happens right there, yeah,
Yeah,
that's still under question, really. And again, this is the cone from the Japan Meteorological Agency, the official RSMC. I'm sure, well, Ike I think has got the PAGASA cone as well on your screen at the bottom of that. But looking at this cone at the moment, you can see there's still a wide margin for error regarding this storm's track, and uncomfortably close to Manila and other populated, heavily populated areas. We're here to take questions, and we're here for this hour of coverage as Goni explodes in intensity. If you've just joined us, this storm is now estimated winds of 190 miles per hour, with what some people are describing as a pinhole eye, very close to that definition. Is it, Ethan?
Not quite.
Not quite.
It's very close, but it's not quite.
So, extremely strong winds in this storm. It's just a satellite estimate. We've no idea how strong the storm actually is. Direct observations can sometimes throw up a surprise. Sometimes it can show a weaker storm. Sometimes it can show stronger. So, satellite estimates are inexact, but they're the best that we've got. But an estimated pressure of around 894 millibars, which is extraordinary as well. That's the most intense Philippine sea storm since probably since Mancut. No, I think it's beat Mancut now, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Beat main cut in what aspect?
Pressure.
Quite clearly.
So
yeah.
this I can't even recall what it must be Moranti then.
I think we had our personal estimate of how long had it lower than that. Lower than what we have it right now, pressure-wise.
Was that in the Philippine Sea though?
No.
What? Oh,
Yeah,
what?
I'm just talking about this particular area here, but nonetheless, regardless of that extremely powerful storm, that whole black ring there, that's minus 70-degree cloud tops and higher. When we talk about those temperatures, that's the satellite detecting the cloud tops, how high up they are in the atmosphere, bouncing back to the satellite, detecting how cold the cloud tops are. Obviously colder the higher up they are, and then you've got the eye temperature, which the satellite can see right down into the eye to get the temperature. Obviously the temperature on the ground will be something like 30 plus degrees Celsius, but low clouds quite often in the eye, so it's getting about 21, 22 degrees Celsius on the standard resolution. There is some ultra high resolution passes that happen, polar orbiters, which I imagine will be getting higher numbers. I haven't seen any of those, but it's probably in the mid to high 20s, the eye temperature. The GFS says 4 tropical systems at the end of their most recent run for the Atlantic. Do you think that will happen?
Possibly.
Let's pop over to the Atlantic just for the moment. You can see this. This is the Gulf, not the Gulf, the Caribbean Sea. The eastern side there has a system that's starting to develop. And these things can take hold very quickly. The GFS thinks it will develop into a tropical cyclone on day 2 or 3. and then potentially affect Nicaragua and then Honduras, could be a strong tropical storm or hurricane. Thing is, though, GFS, at least at their last run forecasting, that that will become our next storm, and then part of its remnants will blow off into the Caribbean Sea and become the next storm, which will go up towards Jamaica and Cuba and around Haiti, and it will die off, and part of that energy will then scoot on over towards the west past the Cayman Islands and develop into another tropical cyclone. Not sure whether that will happen, but that's one crazy scenario presented, and that's without talking about the 3 other systems it develops. But there we go. The Atlantic's ridiculous this year. I think we've established that.
Yeah.
And looking at the wide picture in the Western Pacific, suggestions that Atsani's down to a tropical depression. That's what we've given it right now. There is an ASCAT pass that's due soon, so we might get some new information on that. Obviously ASCAT isn't helpful for Goni because anything beyond about 60 miles per hour is pretty useless on the ASCAT. And then if we just pan this map further east over towards the Marshall Islands, well, Invest 91W is somewhere there. It might even be further south off the screen. It's at a low latitude, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's over there somewhere. I've got a suspicion it might be a bit off the screen. It's very low latitude. But as we move it back over here again, you can see over there, just showing you the South China Sea, which is obscured by our inset most of the time. There we are. Not much going on there right now. And Goni, of course, the main feature. And every so often at the bottom of your screen you see the percentage chances for certain intensities at landfall. We're currently going with, I think it was a 42% chance of a Category 5 landfall. That's assuming that it goes south and strikes either Catanduanes or Camarines. If it doesn't,
I think it all depends.
then it won't.
Sorry. I think it all depends on the strength of the high pressure system to the north of Goni.
Yeah,
Playing a big part.
that's what I'm actually thinking also, yeah.
Because remember, if it gets much stronger than expected, we're going to talk about possibly going through the areas that are affected by the previous storm, Quinta.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at new satellite imagery and just watching it as we go along our screen here, just waiting to see whether it checks out here as well. Ethan, I'm seeing a second band of minus 80-degree cloud tops on the southwestern side of the eye.
That's interesting.
So it's
Weird.
quite possible that it's an eye wall replacement could be ongoing.
Only microwave will tell, but the latest microwave imager that we have still doesn't say that there's an outer eye wall.
When was that?
I'm not particularly sure, but I think it might have been from 6Z, which is about 6.5 hours ago.
Yeah, the latest I've got here is 8:06, which is still a good 4 hours ago, and that's quite inconclusive, to be honest. Yeah, I do think it's quite possible that we could be having an eye wall replacement here, but no visible signs of weakening, really.
No, all indications right now point to this being a merger eye wall replacement cycle, which is not good at all.
That's crazy. Ike, are you still with us there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Would you be able to scroll down on that document? And I think that there's a cone down there from PAGASA.
Yeah, sure.
So this here is what they're calling for. Their cone is actually wider than than Japan, and it is calling for a very close pass there, isn't it?
Yeah. When you
Interesting.
actually look at the satellite loop, in the actually in the final moments of the satellite loop, it seems like it has moved west rather than west-southwest that the models are suggesting.
Just a rapid scan. Yeah,
Or
you're quite right there. It is moving west just in those latest frames.
yeah, is I thought the same too. Like I was thinking.
Now Ray is showing us some microwave imagery. So there's the progression of the storm up until
Looks like the eye is
quite
shrinking.
recently. Ethan, what do you make of that?
Well, I heard that someone in our live chat said that the eye has decreased in size. It has.
Yeah, it
And
shrunk.
yeah, and I wonder if it's continuing to shrink or what's going on with the storm. We're not entirely sure what's really going on with the storm right now with its eye wall, but it's just past 0Z, so we hopefully will be getting a new microwave pass pretty soon.
Yeah.
I say hope.
Will Goni be a Category 4 high-end or low-end Category 5 landfall? Is a question that we've received there, and again, it remains to be
Possibly.
seen.
I think our best
We still can
indications
tell.
right now are a high-end Cat 4 landfall.
Yeah, yeah.
Looks like it. And again, this will occur late Saturday night into the early hours of Sunday morning, the closest pass at least, in the Bicol region. And then for Quezon into central Luzon, you're looking at during Sunday sometime, I think, or late Sunday even.
So probably by tomorrow, PAGASA might be starting to release their bulletins every 3 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe by tomorrow. Because right now they're doing it every 6 hours. So maybe tomorrow, 24 hours before landfall, maybe they might release their bulletins every 3 hours.
And the question about the CDPS rating there, last I checked, which was a little bit earlier, stage 6, nearly a stage, no, only just a stage 6 on the CDPS. Potentially devastating, catastrophic, if you're near the center of the storm. And again, that is 2 days away still at this point for many areas. So I just wonder if we want to talk a little bit about how to prepare for this storm if you're in the areas that are under threat.
I'll do the best. I'll do the best I can here. But what I can say for a high-end Category 4, you probably want to board up your windows really strongly so they can survive the wind. And
Yeah.
you'll also want to probably hunker down your outside stuff, chairs, plants, stuff like that.
To avoid them flying.
I've never really been through a hurricane, so I can't say for sure. But one thing
Well,
that
we
I
know that
can
projectiles are a problem.
Yeah.
One
The
thing that I
most
can say for sure is get out of the storm's way.
yeah. The most important tip I can actually give to you is if your local government unit has told you to evacuate, you evacuate. Don't be a hard-headed person.
More questions there. What's the possible height of storm surge can it generate? I know you mentioned that a little bit earlier.
Yeah. So PAGASA has actually forecasted a maximum storm surge of 2 meters. Yeah, 2 meters. In the coastal areas near the immediate landfall of the storm.
That sounds about right.
Nathan,
Yes.
I've just confirmed with other people that that banding that you're seeing on the southwestern side is not an outer eye wall. It's a gravity band,
All right.
which is a sign of a very intense storm.
Certainly is.
So there is not an eye wall replacement cycle ongoing.
Let's clear that out.
I mean, where do we go from here?
The storm needs to die.
Do we think it's still intensifying?
Yeah.
You do?
Possible.
It's
yeah,
possible, but I think more than likely
I think it's holding off. Leveling off.
Yeah, it's
So
more
just right
likely
now-
just maintaining intensity, I'd say.
Okay. So just right now, actually, when the question was raised, there was actually just the same question in the Facebook stream. So I hope that answered your question there.
Ah,
Yeah. So the question was, what is there a possibility that it will intensify more? So I think you have already answered it.
yeah, there was also another question that kept getting asked about when we're doing the Super Cyclone Challenge. That's not going to be right now. Um, it's a little bit busy for game shows. How strong is the storm and where is it? I can give you a position estimate. So, latest position estimate right now, as of where are we up to? 17 minutes past. I thought we'd have a little bit more
Yeah.
recent than that, but at 17 minutes past, it was at 16.1 north, 130.8 degrees east. And in terms of distances, that puts it 453 miles from Catanduanes Island, which is about 600 kilometers.
729 kilometers exactly.
700.
There.
And
Uh,
661 miles from Manila at this time, which is probably about 1,000 kilometers there.
1,000, yeah. Spot on.
There we go.
And regarding the intensity, right now, PAGASA's estimates are at 185 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 230 kilometers per hour. Category 4 intensity in their scale.
The
That is the
low,
10-minute average.
Yeah, that's a 10-minute average.
even
Take note.
still, the low balling that a lot.
Yeah.
Because this storm is probably 300 kilometers per hour.
My-
If
I
not,
wish
it's
I can
close.
answer that.
We can actually
wish I
tell
can-
that we can.
Right?
Go ahead.
I wish I can answer that question, but we don't have any recon data, unfortunately.
Don't have recon data.
Bring back the planes.
Yes, bring back the planes.
Yeah,
Um,
that's for
Let's
sure.
actually start a movement.
More questions. Will it briefly become 200 miles per hour? Well,
Oh,
No.
there's another step before that. That's 195, which we haven't seen yet. So if we get 195, then it's time to worry about 200. But at the minute, not yet. Will the invest in the Atlantic become a hurricane or even a major, Ethan?
Too
Hurricane,
early to say.
maybe. Tropical storm, probably. Major hurricane, your chances are low for that, in my opinion.
What are the chances of El Nino in late 2021? That's a very long-range
Too
forecast.
far out.
But as it stands right now, I think we're going to have significant La Nina until at least the middle of next year.
more or less.
Is Typhoon Goni stronger than Typhoon Haiyan? No.
No, that's a definite answer. No.
Not by a long shot.
No.
Unlikely.
Haiyan was a
Unlikely.
stage.
Let's just go for unlikely.
Was pretty much a stage 10 on the CDPS scale. It was just half a point short, I think. And this is stage 6, which is still very destructive. Mainly, the main things going against this storm are its small size. There's nothing wrong with its intensity, that's for sure. So, just a reminder, this is currently 190 miles per hour on our latest estimate, and a pressure estimate of 894 millibars.
Now, Nathan, currently on my screen, I've got the latest Force 13 cone, if you want to show it.
I will shortly, but I should bring to attention in world news an earthquake measuring 7.0 has occurred on the western coast of Turkey right now. Half an hour ago.
Stay safe over there.
So it's all going on right now. If you've got any questions about that, we can do our best, but our main coverage is on Typhoon Goni. Let's go over to Ethan then.
Well, here's the forecast cone. The first point that I want to point out, we are forecasting a 155 mile an hour landfall in the Philippines. in just over 2 days from now, and that forecast could go up, it could go down. So we have to remain vigilant with this storm just to see how it evolves and how it changes and how conditions change for the storm, and obviously forecasts are going to change, so it just bears watching.
Oh no, that earthquake is shallow as well. Just pointing out this earthquake that's occurred close to Izmir in western Turkey, quite a large city there. Magnitude 7.0 at a depth of 10 kilometers. That was 50 minutes ago, just about. So that looks like a significant earthquake there near Turkey and Greece. Let's see if we can take some more questions. I'm in the PAGASA cone and the JTWC cone. Should I prepare?
Yes, obviously.
Yes. Definite answer. Yes.
Sounds like a yes.
Yes.
Should
Someone already
definitely
read
prepare for the
5 hours.
worst.
Yeah.
Thank you for your
agree
support,
with you there.
James Gentry, who says, does the recent increased activity in the Western Pacific means that the La Nina is weakening a bit? I've not seen
Not
indications of
really.
that.
No, it's only, if anything, the La Nina is actually getting stronger, if anything.
That's what forecasts were calling for from NOAA, I believe. Or one of
If
the
anything,
agencies.
this storm's intensity is mostly due to sea surface temperatures around the storm, because they've been mostly untapped throughout the whole season.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to point out to you, Nathan, I'm looking on satellite imagery, and it appears that we're seeing those minus 80 cloud tops wrap around the whole eye again.
Oh boy.
It's not good.
In other words,
Perhaps it might be intensifying again.
oh.
We're on two things at once here. I should point out that within a 100-kilometer radius of this earthquake that's occurred off the western coast of Turkey, there's a population of nearly 5 million. That's a 7.0 earthquake with a depth of 10 kilometers, very shallow, that's occurred just about 75 kilometers from a very big population center. So we've got lots of stories right now. If you happen to be near that, please let us know if you've got any information for us. We'll try and balance all these things at once. Is signal number 5 possible from the typhoon?
No. I just answered that question. No.
Can we compare this to other storms that we have experienced? That would be great.
So basically, prove me wrong, but I think PAGASA has introduced the signal number 5 after Haiyan. Is that right?
I think so.
That's right.
Yeah. So basically, it had an excess of 220 kilometers per hour, maybe more, during landfall. So that, together with some LGUs, actually requested a reformat of the scales regarding the TCWS signals after the aftermath of Haiyan. So that's when the signal number 5 came. And as of now, there's actually just 2 storms that had, maybe 1, maybe 2 storms that had shared the signal number 5 strength. One is Miranti from 2016.
We've got some breaking news here.
Go ahead.
Okay.
The
Go ahead.
JMA have just given
Yeah.
the storm 915 millibars and 10 minutes sustained. These are 10 minutes sustained winds of 130 miles per hour.
Increased their wind speeds by 5 knots. Okay, sir.
And that's
So-
officially the strongest typhoon this year so far, in terms of air pressure.
So, okay, so correction, let me continue. So, correction, only Haima, Typhoon Haima, ever used the Super Typhoon. Oh wait, the TCWS signal number 5
Yes,
in the
I
scale.
remember
Yeah,
that.
Haima only. So that's the only storm I can compare actually. Um, let's leave Haiyan out because Haiyan was the uh, cause of the introduction of the signal number 5 category in the first place. So Haima, Haima is the only one that I can compare because it's the only one.
Yeah, let's take some more questions. Is there a chance that Metro Manila will be placed under Signal 4?
Actually, no.
It'd be very bad news if that happened.
Yeah, we will
Probably
break that if it
50-50.
happens. Yeah, 50-50. Yeah, thank
Wow.
you for that.
A lot of questions regarding that actually. Is there any shear or dry air or something that will cause weakening as we saw before? Probably not until near landfall. The wind shear situation, the wind shear will be lightest first thing tomorrow morning when we're on the air again at 8 a.m. That's probably going to be the best time, the best conditions that this storm will have. Who knows what it will look like by then. But just a reminder that we are giving this 190 miles per hour. That's 305 kilometers per hour. That's sustained winds estimated by satellite. Pressure of 894 millibars. So stronger than Mankut. About...
Actually stronger?
Sorry?
Oh, never mind.
According to our estimates at least. And somewhat, in my opinion, I think this has got a likeness to Nipartak.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Let's see if we've got any more questions. There's a few coming in here. Would this be worse than Glenda when it gets to Metro Manila?
Not really. But if it in- if it goes southward, it will be definitely worse than Glenda.
Yeah, because as of the tracks right now, it's actually not going to directly hit Manila. Only the wind surrounding the storm will hit Manila.
And a question about rainfall expectations as well. From what I saw earlier, we're looking at something like maybe 300 millimeters of rain in some of the worst areas, pretty much Bicol region almost exclusively.
We've just had an estimate come through our public server chat. RAM, which is a satellite interpolated intensity estimate, has just given Goni 190 miles an hour.
Holy cow.
Oh, holy cow.
And Dvorak
Powerful.
numbers are getting real close to the legendary T8.0, which would mean a extraordinary powerful storm.
Can you just
What is the current
explain,
number?
just for those who aren't familiar, Ethan, could you explain the T numbering system?
It's sort of, I'm trying to think of a way I can explain it. So, we have a system in tropical cyclone forecasting called Dvorak, and what that does is it goes in and it looks at the storm itself, looks at its cloud tops, and assigns a T number to it. What that means is it's looking at intensity-wise, so when you're looking at a T number, it usually corresponds to a given intensity. So T2.0, for instance, corresponds to a high-end tropical depression. However, when we're looking at T8.0, that's winds of 195 miles an hour.
Oh my.
Yep, so that's a pretty rough guide to the scale, and T7 usually means category 5.
And it's well deep into that territory.
Will Typhoon Goni expand its wind field? That generally does happen as storms keep going. It will probably happen fairly slowly. Eyewall replacement cycles usually hasten that progress. So again, depends whether it has one of those or not. It isn't right now, as we verified earlier. So the wind field won't be expanding that much. Give you an idea of the expected wind field right now, according to the last Joint Typhoon Warning Center advisory. Hurricane force winds, in this case typhoon force winds, only extend out 10 to 15 nautical miles in all quadrants, and the tropical storm force winds only extend out a maximum of 55 nautical miles. It's a tiny storm.
Yeah, when you
Remarkably
really look
tiny.
at the storm in comparison to the Philippines and previous storms in the area, this storm is puny.
But very destructive nonetheless.
I wonder if its size has anything to do with its enormous intensity.
Well, it helps.
Yeah.
Rapid intensification is much more easy. And we've been seeing this for days, haven't we? We were taking a look at what the models were saying about the rapid intensification chances.
I knew that they were pretty high, and originally they were actually higher for Atsani than what they were for Goni, but
Yeah.
Goni
Ah,
pulled through.
notice that. Like, I was expecting that at Sunny in the future forecast models to be much stronger than Goni, but surprise, surprise, Goni intensified very quickly in just about 24 hours.
And the whole explosive intensification.
Just because we want to keep you up to date with everything that's going on, and it's sort of our duty, about the earthquake that's occurred just on the western coast of Turkey, 7.0 magnitude, which happened exactly 1 hour ago. Reports of significant damage, reports of at least a small tsunami in Turkey, possibly moderate, damaging, definitely, and looks like that's a pretty bad situation over there. There was something else I was going to mention about it. No, it's just that a remarkable earthquake was detected on seismographs even in Texas, of all places. Let's take.
Actually, checking the Twitter feed. Sorry,
Mhm.
Nathan. I saw a Twitter video of a tsunami in the south, around the Turkish coast.
Yes. So everything's going on today, it seems.
It's pretty terrible.
Ethan, I take it we'll get some news from the ATCF system, the automated update for Goni's intensity shortly.
I've been monitoring it. I have not seen anything but I will note they did upgrade their 0Z estimate last night.
Oh, really?
Eastern time. It was 145 miles an hour. It's now 150. And their latest estimate was 175. And given that the storm has improved significantly since then, I'd imagine they run with 185.
Let's go to Ray's screen there. You're showing us sea surface temperatures, is it, or energy? Ocean heat content.
The oceanic heat content, and the typhoon is definitely moving
Wow.
through very high oceanic heat content.
Well, that's what's
Yeah.
doing it.
Basically, what's helping the storm?
Definitely.
JMA is now saying it will go westward after going southwest, southeast.
Do you have the track? Oh, wait.
Yeah, I have the track.
Okay, can you
Let's
show
just see
us?
if we can get this updated on our screen as well. There's the latest track.
There it is.
So it hasn't changed a huge amount on the update here, but it could, small shifts can mean big consequences, and unfortunately, you look towards that 5-day period as well, it's going to make landfall, well, I think, in a very similar place to where Malawi did just last week, or a few days ago. Vietnam's not had a good season.
No, and if anything, looks like even Atsani has the potential to go to Vietnam.
Oh my goodness.
Not
Wow.
good at all for Vietnam.
It seems like the latest GMA track puts it closer to Metro Manila actually.
Oh,
It's
okay.
possible.
Yeah, you look at it. It actually brings it closer to Metro Manila. So basically, they're already indicating a southward trend.
Okay, my concern about that, because if it goes north of Manila, that means it will bring in the onshore winds towards
Yes,
Manila. So we're going to talk
yes.
about storm surge, especially around the Manila Bay area.
So probably if this track right now might actually happen, there is a big chance that Manila might actually be in signal number 4. I
Yeah,
cannot definitively say that it will be, but there's a chance if the JMA track might actually push through.
Hmm. Okay, yeah.
and I
Incredible.
also
Very close to Metro Manila. Wow.
probably Central and Southern Luzon will get signal number 4 when
Yeah,
that track happens.
but take note, we still can't say because PAGASA has not said a single word about that scenario yet. We'll have to see
Yeah,
in their 11 p.m. update.
but it's
That's for sure.
possible though.
So just a reminder, this storm on our current intensity estimates from satellite, around 190 mile per hour winds, sustained, that's 305 kilometers per hour, higher gusts. The storm is currently 700 kilometers from the Philippines. It's drawing nearer. It's not moving that quickly, but it's going to get there on Saturday night. In some places, Manila, indeed, will be on Sunday. But it's an extremely ferocious storm, quite small. But as I said at the start of this hour, big things can come in small packages, and this is just one of them. Very small wind field, but an extremely violent one. And anywhere that gets the landfall of this is probably in for strong Category 4 winds, at least Signal 4 conditions. But just to bring you up to date with everything that's going on right now, because there's a lot. So there's this storm that we've just mentioned at Sani. We believe has weakened to a tropical depression based on latest satellite estimates. ASCAP will be getting a pass on that soon to verify whether or not that's the case. And in just an hour ago, a major earthquake has occurred on the western coast of Turkey. 5 million people within 100 kilometers of that earthquake, which has caused significant damage, we believe, what we've seen so far online, and a tsunami, and big problems there, magnitude 7.0. Let's see if we can take some more questions. Is there a chance that it could intensify a bit more prior to landfall when it starts the eyewall replacement cycle?
Yeah.
If it doesn't at all.
Do you think there's actually a possibility it doesn't have an eyewall replacement cycle at all then?
I think
Uh,
it will, but as it stands right now, it appears that we're looking at a merger eyewall replacement cycle.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
low chance that
That's
it
bad
will not
news.
happen.
And that is fairly bad news. Do you want to just explain that mechanism a little bit more, Ethan, what a merger eyewall replacement cycle means?
Well, it's in the name. A merger eyewall replacement cycle means that the storm, as usual, forms an inner eye wall and an outer eye wall, and instead of that outer eye wall sucking all the energy out from the inner eye wall, they merge together, and it's much more quick, and it does not damage the storm a lot.
Yeah,
a remarkable storm that we've been tracking for this last hour. We're going to be finishing up coverage here at this point, finishing our discussion. We will be back with more on live coverage at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning in the Philippines.
An update.
And we've got updates. We've got video updates on our YouTube channel coming up. Ethan, when's that? You're going to be doing it for the 11 p.m.?
Yep, we got a video update coming out just about in 2 hours from now.
2 hours from now. We'll have another update on the Force 13 channel on YouTube if you're watching us there. Also, thanks very much to our people at Force 13 Philippines for keeping the updates going there as well. And our stream's been simulcast there today, and they all are for storms that are threatening the Philippines. So make sure you check them out as well. F13PH on Facebook. And over here, we'll have plenty of updates on our YouTube side as well, and our other social media platforms on Twitter and the Force 13 main Facebook as well. Plenty of places to go for this storm at the moment. We'll have more live coverage 8 a.m. tomorrow morning in the Philippines, and we'll also have time to discuss what's going on elsewhere around the world as well, because the Atlantic could be brewing yet again. It's getting to be a very tiring year.
GTWC have just did
Very.
they've
Definitely.
just gone. GTWC has just gone and done a Dvorak fix, and
Okay.
they've given it a Dvorak score of 7.5.
Hoo-hoo.
That is 180 miles an hour.
Oh my.
They'll probably give that then, won't they? At least.
They'll probably go slightly higher than that.
You think they will? Wow.
Yep.
Ethan will have the update
yes, they
for you.
have. We do. 180 miles an hour, 905 from the GTWC.
I think it's stronger than that, but Ethan will have the latest update on that in a couple of hours, as he just said there. Thanks very much to my team for taking part in discussion on this hour of coverage, and hopefully we'll see them again in the morning. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again soon. Good night.
Good night.
Stay safe.